There's a state facility, and then there's our yard, and then there's the feds.
Oh, okay.
So the unique thing about Berlin that I noticed in my time there is the Fed politics, which are completely different than state politics, come to race and stuff, kind of come over because the yards are right there. And that would come and go. So there would be like 7 or 8 months to where it would be like strictly Fed politics.
Wow.
And then there was people who get shipped out, too many problems, and then it would be back to state politics. And my Berlin bid was rough for me because I had done too much county time, and I had done too much my own county time. 9 months, Rockingham, going to prison. I thought I ran shit. I had the poker table, I had the stores, county, I had everything. We get to prison, I thought I was about to do the same shit. Stupid, man.
You got a moment when they see you down, just know they love it all.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got a special guest with me today, so why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself, bro.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Michael Anderson from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Shouting out the 603 on the B. Luke podcast. It's all about the bounce back. You know, I appreciate you for this means a lot to me.
Absolutely.
This has been a hell of an experience. Cambridge welcomed us with open arms. Had a great day today with my woman.
Absolutely.
Shout out Cambridge. Born and raised Portsmouth, New Hampshire. For those who don't know, it's a little city compared to Cambridge. Is little. You know what I mean? It's right in between Massachusetts and Maine. Little port city. Really easy to do good things, just as easy to do bad things.
Yeah.
I-95 runs right through there, you know. So that's kind of where my life started. Moved to the woods for a little bit as a youngin'. Don't remember much. Father and mother were not ready for a relationship, not ready to have me.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
Yeah, you know, I have a half sister. Shout out Amanda. She's in Cali. She's 6 years older than I, and she's my mother's daughter. So my dad, whenever, you know, he knocked up my mom, pardon my language, but you know, she wasn't ready for it. She didn't expect it. My dad was 8 years younger than her. My dad really wasn't ready for it either. Yeah. But he buckled down. At that time, he was working local 33 here, Massachusetts Union, Walsh Connell, doing the tunnels.
Oh, okay.
Right here
the
in
big
Boston.
dig.
The big dig, that's right. Yeah, local 33. Shout out them. They also built our bridges in Portsmouth. So that's what's up. So yeah, and in that period of time, my dad was raised as a mechanic. That's how I was raised to be, auto mechanic. That period of time, the money was here in the Union. Yeah. So we had to travel from Wakefield, New Hampshire, which is the sticks, all the way down here. We're talking like 3-hour travel. Wow. Leave at 3 in the morning, come home at 9 at night, sleep, do it again. That little bit of period of time, they would just fight. Yeah. You know, whatever happened in that period of time, neither one of them were on the right page. Yeah. My dad was doing his own thing down here, whatever that may be. My mom was doing her own thing up there, and I was just witnessing it. It all come to fruition. Custody battle, big custody battle, which my father won. Wow. Unheard of, really.
How old were you when this was going down?
Roughly 6 or 7.
Okay, so still pretty young.
Yeah, very young. I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know anything. Yeah. I just knew my dad. All I knew was to see my dad when he walked through the doors at night. Okay. Run to him, hug him. He used to tell me stories about fighting dragons when they were building these tunnels to keep me entertained, you know? Yeah.
So how did you do, like, in school as a student, like when all that was going down? I know sometimes things going on at home can affect like the behavior at school, schoolwork, all of that. What kind of student were you?
So at a young age, I was a weird student because I had the Forrest Gump hip braces of a hip disease, and I had to have it fixed. Oh, shit. So I was like a walking robot at a young age, and gained a lot of weight. Fast forward as a student, I'm autistic, but I'm good at things, you know what I mean? There's certain things I'm really good at. And for whatever reason, I had a lot of fun in school, and as a student, I excelled. I didn't care for it. Right. So I threw all that out essentially later on.
So what about as far as, you know, children can be cruel, man? Sometimes looking back, I know, you know, we were sometimes. So was that something that you dealt with the hip braces and all of that?
For sure, yeah. And Wakefield, it's hillbilly country. And we're talking Wakefield, New Hampshire, not Mass. Okay. So this is hillbilly country.
Sticks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I remember, this is the first time I ever spoke about this in public, but I remember getting pushed. I had these hips braces. I get pushed and I rolled down the hill
Damn.
because I couldn't stop myself. The braces just kind of
Yeah.
acted like a tire.
Jeez.
That was when I moved to the city. When I moved back to Portsmouth, my hometown where I was born, things were different because of my last name, because of who my father was.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't, you know what I mean? I had the same teachers my father had, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like special privileges or whatever. They let me do whatever I wanted.
Yep.
Good student, good athlete, very good athlete.
What did you do for sports?
Baseball was my main sport. Loved baseball, and then I went to driving race cars.
Oh, okay.
So circle track race cars, like NASCAR, hillbilly shit. You know, in New Hampshire, even in Mass, there's some tracks, but in New Hampshire, there's a lot of race tracks, circle track. And I had a NASCAR license in 2011, so I was 15 years old. So I was able to drive a full-blown race car before I could drive on the street.
Oh, how did that work? Is it because you were on a track and you weren't like you weren't like a public threat?
Right. So more or less, it's an insurance thing. Gotcha. You have to have a lot of coverage, and you have to certain amount of track hours. Okay. So I started running smaller divisions when I was like 9.
So what got you into that?
My dad.
Something? Okay.
Yeah, that's my family sport.
Okay,
so my grandfather mechanic, my father mechanic. Okay. They built race cars, moonshiners from back in the day in Indiana.
Oh shit, yeah.
They came up here. My grandfather came up here on the pipeline, and he realized there was money on the coast compared to down south.
Gotcha.
And that's when he planted my family in Portsmouth, on the coast of Portsmouth, not Cambridge.
Gotcha. What was like the difference that you noticed, or even looking back, between like Wakefield and Portsmouth, as far as like the towns and the schools and the people? Whoa.
It was crazy because I thought I fit in better in the sticks. I was a heavier kid, raised more like riding snowmobiles, dirt bikes type thing. You don't do that in Portsmouth. But when I got to Portsmouth, I was accepted with open arms, just because the hustle and bustle. So it didn't take too long for me to. The difference was a huge culture shock, yes. And I loved Portsmouth a lot more than I liked Wakefield. To this day, I still do. I've kind of been more of a city boy now than a country boy.
What kind of things were you doing, like, after school?
All right, so we used to have programs. My father would be working. Yeah. And my grandmother, she had a very nice house. And we used to just come home from school. I used to bring all my friends home, smoking weed, you know what I mean, drinking. She was so old and she didn't really care. Yeah. So we come through the back door 10, 20 deep. Really, she had a big house. I was blessed on that note, and we just wild out. We had a free card to do whatever we wanted. If we got caught, I had to deal with my dad. Right. And again, it comes back to if I had to deal with my dad, he was just like, you're stupid enough to get caught. Do what you do, but don't get caught type shit.
So what was, kind of curious, what was the story with like your mom, right? I mean, for the guy, we know how it is for a guy to get custody. It's usually pretty tough. Did she have issues, or what was going on there?
They both had issues. So, my father, the big dig job was a pinnacle, from what I've heard. Now talking as an adult to my dad, the big dig job opened up. He had never really worked in Boston, made that type of money. So things, there was. That's when the drugs started coming in, and they started coming in real cheap and in a lot of quantity. And my mom always thought that she's watching this, whatever is the truth. She always thought that she deserved all of it. And my dad, my dad used, it was yay, uppers. That's what it was. And that just drug-fueled relationship and the jealousy. So she would be out in Wakefield trying to maybe do whatever she did to get her fix, which was pathetic compared to what my dad was coming home with. Right. And my dad didn't even need to come home to her. He's a boss. Everybody's chilling. So she got fed up with it, and she threatened to take me. Like, she thought for whatever reason that she had a move, and she didn't. My dad had lawyers.
Thought she had the leverage.
And thank God he smashed that case. He went to court and she tried to throw dirt on his name. It's a nasty situation, when it comes to that. Yeah. He won though. He won full rights with me. I was like 9 years old.
And did you want to? Would you, if you had a choice?
Absolutely, 100%. My dad. He ended up being my co-defendant. You know what I mean? Like he's my.
So a lot of times too, with the yay, right? Is the alcohol kind of comes with that too? Was
Yeah,
that a
for
big
sure.
thing in the household too? Growing
It
up?
was. See, it's turned into it now. So my grandfather was an alcoholic, and my dad was an alcoholic. So but when he would come to work in the union, he couldn't do those shifts drinking. You know, he got sober off of alcohol, and that went to the yay. You know, which it really helped him. He made a lot of money. He was very successful. I don't know. I'm not condoning it.
Right.
But you know, that was a better choice.
But as far as energy, it has its positives.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but overall, the negative definitely will outweigh the positives. But
and then when that happened, that was my dad's biggest thing. Is like he was the first one on my male side of the family to stop drinking, and I carried that with me for a long time. He's still got that pride. 15 years.
Other than like the co-defendant thing, was your dad getting locked up while you were growing up, or arrested or anything like that? Was that part of it?
When he was drinking before his job, assault, bar fights, you know, stupid things like that. My mom threw some shade on him. So between him and her, when I was younger, cops were coming every night to the house. Neighbors were sick of it.
So how does it work in New Hampshire, wherever you at? Do they have like sheriffs? Do they have city police? Or who's coming to the door? Like,
so at that neighborhood, it was just, I think, city police. I shouldn't even say neighborhood, it's the woods. But I think it was just city police. I was young. The first time I saw my dad cuffed, I think it was just a disturbance. I think it was just city police. Yeah.
Okay. Nothing. No jail time coming from that.
No jail time coming
from
that. He beat a bad case that she tried to put on him. He took it to trial and he beat it to trial. You know.
Wow. I mean, how does that make you feel? Like, did you have any disdain?
Yeah, man, I didn't feel great. I still don't feel great about it. She's still not to get into, but yeah, me and her are not on like that terms. You know.
I got you.
I don't want to speak bad about it. She's still my mom. My dad's my road dog, you know what I mean? Like that's what's up. Yeah. She's done nowadays, she's better. Yeah. God bless. She's 62 years old, so not a lot of room to play around anymore. No doubt. But yeah.
When do you start getting in trouble? Is it at school or outside of school?
Yeah, Portsmouth Middle School, about right off the rip. I left elementary school in New Hampshire. Portsmouth elementary school is K through 5. Yep. Middle school is 6 through 8. Okay. So in the summer from 5th grade to middle school, my dad put me to work. Right. So I was on a roof with him and my boy D, shout out D. And that's when I noticed, that's when I got paid real money, you know what I mean? I talk real money, we were getting $10 an hour to lump shingles, you know? But as kids, that was cash in hand. So that's when I started getting in trouble. 6th grade came, me and D had stacked up all summer. Just that $10. We had no time to spend it. We were working all the time. Absolutely. And the shape that it put me in, because now at this time my hip is better. You know, and I still carried I'm still big. I carried a lot of weight, but that started getting I felt real good. You know,
getting stronger and shit.
Yeah, and I'm coming into middle school, and now middle school there's 3 different little cities converging, so new females coming, hyped up. And I felt better than ever, and I got in mad trouble because I had money. Yeah. Started off with just weed, you know what I mean? Coming to school with a joint, smelling like weed. Right, they call your parents, come pick them up. And then little fights, you know, somebody would call me fat or something. My father always raised me with you swing on sight order, you know what I mean? If you get picked on and they disrespect you, win, lose, or draw, you at least got to get one off, man. At least try. Absolutely. And I did that, and the city of Portsmouth is not like Boston or anything. It wasn't a fighting city like that. So you hook off on somebody.
Well, I know New Hampshire in general too. Right. They don't really play around. I think I was working in Vermont. Yep. I think my boy got a $500 ticket just for speeding. I was like, be careful cutting through, bro. What happens from middle school to high school, right? How does that work?
So I first started getting in trouble in 6th grade, minor stuff, fights, weed. 7th and 8th grade progressed because I'm in a racing career. So now I'm kind of getting a little bit, was the only kid racing, you know? So it was kind of like a clout thing because my dad used to drop me off at school with the race car on the back of the truck. Shit. And I'd bring my trophies in. I did real good. Nice. So I was good at it. I got some clout, and that didn't help me because I got to my head. Man, real fast. So in between the 6th and 8th grade, that's when I transitioned from just trying to be popular at school to realizing I want to be popular everywhere, you know. I was getting recognition in Wisconsin, Maine, hundreds of miles away from where I'm from. girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That girls my age, they don't see a kid racing and winning. And that changed. So when I come back to school from those weekends, people looked at me different. And I loved that.
Ate it up.
And yeah, man, I ate it up in a bad way. And so 8th grade, I started getting in a lot of trouble, expelled out of Portsmouth High School, regular school. The only school I could go to was the alternative. And that lasted 2 weeks, and I got expelled today because to put me in alt school, these dudes are all gangsters. You know what I mean? They're all walking around like that. I'm not used to that.
Right.
I'm trying to look at some girls or something, and boom, boom, fights. Kicked out, so I had to move to Dover, New Hampshire. That's when the drugs started. In Portsmouth, it wasn't cool to do drugs like that. It was cool to be successful.
Right.
In Dover, it was cool to be successful selling drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're talking about 15 miles apart, the highway. So my first day at Dover High School, I wore my whole Portsmouth outfit, trying to get attention. And of course, I got checked on it. But then the party, I got invited to a party. There's no yay or there's no weed. Everybody's doing fucking heroin, fentanyl. We're in high school. I didn't see this shit.
Yeah, that's
popping perks and shit. And I had seen my dad pop some perks back in the day, had some fun shit, but I've never seen a perk 30.
Right.
I didn't know. First perk 30 I popped, I didn't even snort it. It roached me right out.
Yeah,
dude,
I remember the first time seeing someone smoke one. I was like, what the hell?
Smelling like marshmallows.
I just got out of prison. I was like,
damn.
The hell, game done changed, bro.
Man.
Shit.
So that's what escalated that, because the cool kids at that time were tough kids crossing the border.
Yeah.
You know, we come from New Hampshire, but they're going to Mass. You know what I mean? Not everybody could do that back then. Nowadays, it's different. Back then, if you came from New Hampshire, especially as a kid, a white, young high school kid, you had to...
Did it start with just popping the perks? And how does it eventually... Does it spiral out of control? Like, what are the events that lead up?
My dad got a script, is what happened. He hustled the system. He injured his shoulder at work. They gave him rotator cuff surgery, and I'll never forget, asked for oxycodone. And they just wrote him a script. He kept it away from me. He knew what he was going to do. It was a perk. I was still ignorant to it. They gave him $260 a month, mind you. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to the numbers and that shit. One day I saw him snort it. It was a game changer for me. I'm like, damn. Because he never let it on that he parties. He was sober off alcohol, as far as I knew. To me, he's completely sober.
Wow.
I didn't know that he had just kind of switched alcohol for the up or whatever high. So I saw him snorting. I'm like, damn, I know where he keeps those. I could do that. So I snorted that, and then he caught me because I was puking.
So I'm just curious to know how it might have felt too, because a lot of times, especially you repping your dad so hard, like we look up to our dads like a superhero, and then to see him do something like that. Did that make you almost think less of him, or did it make you just want to kind of...
It should have,
emulate it in a way, or...
It made me want to emulate it. I've always strived to be like him. I figured if he did it, it was good.
Right.
And he didn't know I saw it, so he never did that in front of me. He wasn't aware of his surroundings at the time I peeped it. Yeah. So, I should have turned me away from it, but I'm like, yo...
And so what happened? You said you had stole some? Or
yeah, so I started taking it because he had so many of them. He just
like a little bit here and there.
$260 a month, perk 30s for he was paying $3 a piece with insurance. Right. So he just laying them around. I'd boost them.
Just like one or two here and there. He wouldn't notice, or did you take whole half?
No, just one or two. And the first time you noticed because I snorted and I puked everywhere. Blues coming out my nose. I'm panicking. And he knew exactly what time it was. He knew what happened. But that's the game changer.
Well, what was that conversation like? Is it still the same thing?
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it with me.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what he said. You ain't going out here in these streets without me. You're under me. And it was the pinnacle that changed my whole innocence. Not to speak bad about my dad, but that's what happened. It was like, all right, he caught me red-handed. Wasn't about to let me go to Dover High School trying to wheel and deal knock. It was like he took full control. He called at this point, he had been he's made some connections around here from the Big Dig and stuff. So there was no move I could make that wasn't going back to him. And that was it. It was just like that, you know what I mean?
So at what point, or is it right away, does it go from grabbing a couple here and there to now you're doing them every day? Was it right away?
It was so after that conversation, I was still going to school, and nobody was sick yet. He had enough. Nobody knew about the withdrawals.
Right.
So he always had a monthly thing going on. And then somebody had come along. I was younger, so I don't know, but somebody had come along like, yo, you getting this many? And they convinced him to sell it. So when he sold his whole script for the money and then realized he woke up the next morning, he was sick. Now, I didn't have nothing to do the next morning. Now I'm sick.
Wow.
And I got sent home from Dover High School for being dope sick.
Did you know you were dope sick at that point?
No, I didn't. I just never felt like that before.
Did they have the fit, or they just thought you were sick?
No, I was puking in the classroom.
Okay.
Like, it just came up. And I'm not like that. Normally, I'd be sleeping in the classroom, smelling like weed or something.
Shit.
You know, I woke up and puked.
So you get sent home. Now you probably get home. Is dad sick too? And
wicked, bad spot. We got like 15, 16 days for the next script.
Point do you realize what's making you sick, right? Instead of like, okay, we're sick, we're both in the same house, maybe it's the flu.
He knew. He just didn't let me onto it. And I don't think he wanted to realize that, you know, me at a young age was going through dope sickness and that maybe he caused it. So the move was, there was plenty of money because he had just sold the whole script. So the move was, we'll just go buy some off the streets. And at that time, I was the one with friends. So I got the money. Here I am, way too much money, dope sick. Go to this trailer park, whatever, looking for perks because I knew we sold to this dude, so we normally kept. He didn't have any perks. That's where he introduced me to Brown, down heroin. He's like, this is going to make you feel better. You know, I've never put a needle in my arm to this day, but he bust me off a little piece for free, and it made me feel better. But I had to bring my dad home.
So what was going through your mind? Was it a desperation thing? I mean, because in your head, you might, like, a lot of times we justify, right? Like, we know it's the same shit, right? Right now, like, but in your head, you're like, oh, this is like cool. This junkies do, right? Like, you know.
My justification is if I didn't shoot it, I wasn't a junkie.
Right, okay.
You know, that was my mental illness drive. If I just snorted it, I was all right. Okay. I didn't put the needle in my arm.
Is that how you justified it to yourself at that moment, and then you weren't sick? And
at that moment, I was just desperate because I had never really been dope sick before. So if that was going to get me better, I was willing to do it. And I realized how fast it made me better. I wasn't going to tell my dad.
Right.
And I realized how fast it made me better. I'm like, let me buy a little and bring it home to my dad. My dad was all against it until I was like, man, you spent your money on it. So this is what we got. If you don't want to do it, I'm going to do it. So he did it with me. As soon as he did it back then, it was good stuff. You know what I mean? Not to idolize it.
No doubt.
It was different. It was like right away. It was like,
well, it was actually dope.
It was dope. It was dope. Right? It wasn't a fatty, right? It was what it was.
So what happens now? Is this something where, okay, you just do that until the next script comes in, or does it?
That was the plan.
And then by the time the next script comes, you sell it off?
We did that. Yeah, exactly. You hit it right on the head. So the next script came, and we sold it all right then to the same person for the cash.
Wow.
And went to the work and the dope and realized that we could buy enough because dope was cheap at the time. We could buy enough, and especially if we came down to get it. The upsale, there was money to be made. So it was like, fuck working in the garage, you know what I mean? Like nobody was doing it in our area. And everybody was had a habit. So we made a lot of money real fast by flipping the pills, buying Brown.
Wow.
The issue is at that time it was real loosey-goosey with the meds. When it started cracking down on the meds, they like hit everybody with piss tests. My dad pissed dirty for heroin, you know what I mean? So, and he had no perks in the system, just heroin. They took our script. So it was like, you know, what do we do now? We don't have that money to flip. Thankfully, we had enough connections, but at that point, we were full-blown addicts.
Yeah,
There was no going to work a 9 to 5 at that point.
Just hustling.
Back on the road, get the money. Front, we had to front. I had to front. You know, my dad was the type to, at this time, I was earning my stripes or whatever you want to call it. So I'd be coming down here, man, like people knew me spending money, things of that nature, and they would help me out.
Where did you guys, did you go all the way to Boston, or did you stop at like Lowell or Lawrence?
I never went to Lawrence, but once. Because Lawrence is, shout out Lawrence, but I New Hampshire plates. You know what I mean? It was a no-no. It really was. Haverhill, all my cases are out of Haverhill.
So talk about that. When do you start catching cases?
I was 19.
Okay.
I have it on my phone just for this interview. But yeah, my first one, I was 19. And still enrolled in Dover High School, just not going. They caught me with 8.5 grams. I bought a stick, 10 grams, and I had busted, obviously, I guess, 2 grams off and did it. And I fucking stopped on 495 rest stop, and a statey pulled in and checked me, and I didn't have a license. And he did an inventory search of the vehicle because they were just going to tow the vehicle and get me for driving without a license. And the inventory search, I found 8 grams. I was 19.
And this was in Haverhill?
Haverhill, yeah. This was on 495 rest station in Haverhill. And anyway, he brought me to Newburyport State Police Barracks. And I had a nice watch. I had a lot of money on me. I thought was a lot of money at the time. And, you know, he told me I was obviously going to Middleton. I didn't know what Middleton was.
Right. Yep.
At the time, I'm in the streets. You know, I didn't care about jail. Like, you ain't gonna tell me nothing, this and that. So he sent me to Middleton. I was at 19.
So what was a bail? No bail or what?
I had already defaulted, so I had a default. So
on that case or another case?
Another case. So my dad was my co-defendant the first time. I just never did jail time. Okay. He bailed out. We paid a fine.
So what was that case where you guys were the co-defendants that you bailed out?
I think we got caught also with heroin. I think that was a full stick. Me and my dad. Was that in Haverhill, Hadley West.
So you had an open case out of Haverhill.
Yep.
Now you catch another case in Haverhill. Revoke the bail.
Yep.
Go to Middleton.
Middleton, yeah. So they pick me up. They bring me to Middleton. I'm not jail smart at the time. So I thought I was going to court the next day. I'm like, Massachusetts, they're gonna give me bail. My dad was there with the money. The judge is like, you have an open warrant because you missed court. Like I think at the time it was 90-day detainer. And I didn't understand those wordings at the time. I'm looking at my lawyer, and I'm sick. I'm dope sick. Yeah. Looking at my lawyer, like, we have money cash. You know what I mean? He's like, nah, bro, you're going back to Middleton. I'm like, fuck. So I had only spent that night in Middleton. I didn't get to see it. It was dark when I got there the first night. They just they knew I had to have it. So I went to the infirmary. And so I went to court the next day. They revoked my bail back to Middleton, back to the infirmary. Now I'm really dope sick. The infirmary in Middleton is not a place you want to be. I was young. I didn't know. So I was in room 6A and right next to the phone. And this is when the showers were there. And of course, now I come back from court, they check me. Like, not check me, but like, yo, where you from? What do you want
I thought you meant strip search.
Oh, yeah, strip search.
I thought you meant by check you. But okay, you talk about the inmates, they start talking.
Yeah, where you from? You know, I was young. Clean face, skinny, junked out, you know, young, 19 years old. So they're like, where you from? This and I'm like, New Hampshire, man. I'm from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And everybody's like, what? There was one dude from New Hampshire in there. He was a white dude. He was a bigger dude. He was sick too. He's like, yo, good. You could sleep in the bed next to me.
Was this a dorm situation? Or?
This is, it's an infirmary, so it's it's not the detox unit nowadays before, but yeah, it's a dorm situation. It's just a room with bunks, like single bunks. And at the time, there was a shared bathroom with a shower, which was nice. And this is, you can look it up. This is my first experience with death was that first full day in Middleton at 19 years old. Because the white dude from New Hampshire that told me I could sleep in the bunk next to him, like, you know what I mean, we're both from New Hampshire type, hung himself in the shower that night, bro.
Wow.
So I woke up to all I heard was inmate hanging, and the shower's right in front of me. So I sit up, and all I can remember is like just the color and his head off the floor when they cut it. It just went he was done. Everybody roll on your stomach, show your IDs, you have wrist in Middleton, so they know who inmate it is. And was like, and then they had the nerve to offer me like counseling after. I'm like, nah.
So all right, so you're in the infirmary because you're kicking, right? Was he like in there on some mental health stuff, or was
I don't know. I didn't meet him like that. So like it literally happened that night. Like he introduced me, kind of welcomed me with open arms, and then hung it up.
So what the hell's going through your head? All that happens. Just I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on. You're sick. Somebody would just obviously rather die than be there. You know what I'm saying? And here you are.
Exactly.
You're like, damn, this is bad.
Like this isn't the streets. You know what I mean? Like this is different. I'd already seen somebody get beat up, which is I see people get beat up before, but that was because he was like moaning and groaning. It wasn't. It was just like people don't want to live here and that. I remember this dude just got up and just started putting the knucks on him.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to lay here and be quiet. You know what I mean? I'm going to deal with this. Like, I'm going to humble myself.
Yeesh.
So I ended up, my dad had pushed to get, he had money. He says, there's got to be some way we can bail him out. Massachusetts ain't dealing with that.
Yeah.
New Hampshire might deal with a little money.
Right,
Like how much money you got type. Like we might let him go. And Massachusetts like, nah, he's stuck for 90. So anyway, I had to go back to court to get that decision because my dad brought it upon the judge. Now I'm starting to feel better.
How long has it been now?
About 7 days.
Okay.
So this was back to back.
Okay.
So I'm back in the paddy wagon and I'm actually talking to people. I'm more comfortable and I'm with some solid dudes that are coming from the blocks. They're looking at me and I'm feeling better, but I'm still not looking great. They asked me, like, anyway, long story short, by the end of court, we left Haverhill Courthouse and we all got back in the paddy wagon. They're like, don't go back to the infirmary, bro. You come to the block with us.
Yeah.
Like, living is different. I didn't know this.
Yeah, right.
So I had some solid cats show me that. So as soon as I got that, I'm feeling better. I don't need to go back to
plus,
the
when you
infirmary.
first get somewhere, you just go where they send you. You don't think you have a say in the matter.
I didn't know what to do exactly at all.
Plus, for the first 7 days, it might have been a good, good idea to
chill. I wouldn't have wanted to be on the block looking like that.
So is that what happened? You come back, and then what do you do? Do you have to tell somebody you want to put me in pop?
They pretty much as soon as they brought me to the nurse station, they're doing my blood pressure or whatever, and I'm like, I feel fine, and I just pretty much asked to get classed out is what I did, and it didn't happen that night, but it happened the next day.
So at what point do you get like your first good wink of sleep? Like how long does that take from getting from being sick to actually being able to sleep a little bit?
Well, that's tough because at the time it was 2000. I think it was 2013, 2014. Voc 1 was not PC then. Voc 1 in Middleton was a new man's block, which is dorms, dorm-style bunks. Now it's the village, so I have a hard time saying that because people don't. This is 2013, so I got classed from infirmary to Voc 1. So there, even if I did feel good, there was no sleep. Yeah,
because
people
situation?
Up all night, rowdy, just disrespectful, just being craziness.
And that was a new man block?
Yeah, Voc 1 at the time was new man block.
So how long do you have to stay there?
I only stayed there. I made one canteen there, so 7 to 10 days. Yeah, and then I went to 80 Upper. 80 Upper. The first wink of sleep I got was your question. I had to do some boxing. Okay. I got broke off when I got to 80 Upper. I got called over by the white boys or whatever, and they're like, look, a rugged man. Here's some shoes. You need to eat. Because I wasn't eating the county food, man. I'd never seen that slot.
Yeah, no, it takes a while.
It takes a while. I wasn't a state food assassin then, man.
It takes a while to build the palate to an acquired taste.
Oh. So they broke me off. Here, do this. Here's some Reeboks. I got the old Sony 1-battery radio, which the first music I heard, I think, was better than the Suboxone at the time. Like, that was nice. Yeah. But the first wink of sleep I got was that first Suboxone I did, and it took me right out because I did the whole thing, thinking I had this killer habit on the street. I had been on in there probably 2-3 weeks at the time, blasted the whole strip, roached. I was geeked, dog. Yeah, so I slept.
That's crazy. So what about the white guys come up to you? Do they give you a kind of rundown of how things are? You being from New Hampshire, I know I've never been to Middleton, but I know it's kind of like gangland almost, at least with
Yeah, for sure. I didn't really get a rundown, man. I kind of wish I did though. They give me sneakers. Pay attention. Yeah, I should have paid attention when they give me sneakers. You know what I mean? That fresh pair of sneakers, it didn't ring in my head. There's a reason why these dudes are giving you sneakers. Yeah. They didn't give me a rundown, no, but I landed in a good cell. So I stayed to myself. Okay. I didn't know how to play poker, didn't know how to play spades. I would play rummy, that was it. And so I stayed to myself.
Weren't trying to learn?
I wasn't, man. I was more or less thinking 90 days is almost over. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm like almost a month, and I got 2 more months. I can sleep it. And it didn't work like that because shortly I learned they put this weirdo, is a Charles Skinner, man, in our cell. We're 80 Up is 8-man cells. Oh. So, and open doors, shared bathroom. It's supposed to be like whatever. But it's pre-trial 80 Up in 8-man cells, and they put this to Skinner in a cell. Me, I don't know. I don't know prison politics, jail politics at all at the time. I know streets. Yep. Well, the older cat in my cell was a serious dude. I didn't realize. He's like, yo, man, he's sleeping next to you, so he has to leave this cell. We've already all done the whole time. Like, you're not afraid to fight him? Like, no, I'm not afraid to fight. And it's just like, oh, do you know what he did? And then I guess he like, I don't know. His grandmother was like passed out on anesthesia or something, and he was like molesting. Yeah.
Wow.
So I smoked him. You know, I was my first jail fight, and I caught him while he was on the top bunk. He was sitting on the top bunk, and he was just listening to music. And I just walked in and smoked him. And I didn't know at the time that Middleton, I didn't know how serious it was. You know what I mean? I figured a cop or two would come. I didn't expect dogs. You know what I mean? Chigarelli split me. Man put me down.
Wow.
Yeah, that cop told me to get on the ground and stop hitting him. I didn't stop. I was on him. I was in my zone. I'm proving my point. I think I'm doing right.
Especially shitbag stuff that
man.
That. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I have a lot of respect. Exactly. Yeah, but Chigarelli picked me up. Boom!
Damn.
Split my shit.
Really?
Yeah, so I went to the whole 120A from there. And that was
so
a real
is that what you meant by when you said about the sneakers? Like, oh, they would give like that. Okay, now we gave you the sneakers. Now it's time to put in work. Kind of almost like, oh, I see how it is.
But nobody told me that. You know what I mean? Like, you're accepting this, but expect it.
Right.
You know, and I just kind of figured they were looking out because I was white in New Hampshire, young.
Yeah.
They're like, nah, man, this is it. This is how it goes here.
Yeah.
And I didn't see much of that. And then I went to the whole 120A from that incident.
What did they give you for whole time for that?
14 days was my first seg or disciplinary.
So you got split. Did you have to get stitched up, or like what happened?
No, they super glued right back here on my shit. And he just split my head.
Yeah,
He suplexed me, man. Just cracked me.
14 days in the hole.
14 days in the hole. My first night, I was by myself, and it was craziness. At the time, the Boston Marathon bombers, the co-defendants, were in the hole in super duper PC.
Yeah.
And there were cellies down there. So it was a rowdy whole time at the Boston bombers that just happened, things of that nature. So I didn't know. I'm like, damn, this is different than the dorm. I'd only seen, the dorm life, So now I'm locked in the cage and I'm in the hole in Middleton.
Now you're really in this. This is jail. Like a door closes by myself. Boom. They take your radio and all that.
All that, man. All my canteen. And I was living good. It was my first bid.
So how did that work? Were you already privy to okay, I'm about to do this. Let me pack because usually now I'm sure. Pack my stuff up. That way nobody touched my shit.
Bro, nobody told me.
What happens when you get out? Do people rifle through your shit, or did you have all your stuff luckily?
Man. People did me dirty on my first one, to be honest, now that you mention that, because I had I had 100 banger a week, my first bid. I was young. My grandmother sent that money, whatever.
Makes time a little easier for sure.
Sure it did, man. Depending on which block.
Yeah. But then you got these people trying to be your friends because they see you get a bag.
So I ended up getting out of the hole. It's funny you mentioned that. I had a bag of Keef's coffee and a bag of chili out of 100 banger. And I'm like, hey, I left me coffee and a chili. I was happy.
Right.
And I went from the hole to 120B. But the first person to give me rules was in the hole.
Okay.
I'm not going to say his name, but he's a solid dude. Yeah. He was my cellie the next day, and I was nervous because I've never been locked in a cell with somebody. Big white dude.
So weird. People don't realize how I always tell you, like how I explain jail pretty much is like imagine being locked in a bathroom with a stranger.
Just constantly.
To live there. Right. I mean, with a bed and a stranger. That's what it is.
Hoping you like each other. Yeah. That's all you can do.
Yeah. And he was kind of older guy. Did he start to break things down?
He was older to me. Like I said, I was 19. He was probably my age now.
Right.
But he had been to Shirley. Yeah. He was telling me prison rules right off the bat. Like, if you're gonna shit, courtesy flush. Mando. If you can wait, please. Real nice and respect, gentleman like. Yeah. That's how it's supposed to be. And that's how he told me. Like, don't be walking around here with a mean mug, but don't keep your head down. Just excuse
head up,
me. But
don't stare, kind of deal.
Yeah, you know
I
what I mean?
So you said you went to this block. Is this another 2-man cell block, or you back to those 8-man cells?
Yeah, after I wrapped up my whole time, I went from 128 to 120B, which is just right across the hall, which is the STG unit, gang unit. So, and I guess they sent me there because it was a Skinner that I hit. Okay. I'm not STG. I wasn't at the time. None of that. I was young.
So now you get there though, and that's an STG block. Do people start asking you what set you claim and all that?
You dubbing, how long you've been dead. Middleton is the dubs.
Yep.
At the time, that was it. You walk on the block. I still had a little bit of a shiner from the fight. I still had where they shaved my head. Everybody heard. So they asked me how long I had been, whatever, and I was like, "Oh man!" At this point, after that fight in the 14 days, I had like a month left.
I was gonna say this is all in those first 90.
This my first 90 is most rowdy 90 in Middleton. This story, that's facts. And I also was very lucky, got a good celly, man. Yeah. And I was going home, so it'd stay out of everything.
Is that what ended up happening after 90 days? You go to court. Do they give you a bail?
They go to court, they gave me a bail, and they reinstated my probation. Okay. So they didn't max me, but they just gave me, what did they call it? They just put me back on probation knowing I was going to, I knew I was going to come back. A lifetime installment plan or whatever.
Did you get out that day of court?
Out of court, my dad walked out that day of court, that was crazy. My dad looked at me like he didn't know what happened. It's crazy in there. And he's like, nah. I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, it was crazy. I was thunder shocked. But it didn't stop me, though. Unfortunately, I went right back to the streets. My dad picked me up in a Cadillac. Ready, you know what I mean? I just did my bid.
Even though it wasn't a bid, you still got
I
open,
thought it was
right?
A bid, yeah.
Well, yeah. So you got two open cases now, right?
Yeah, I got two open cases now, back in the streets, but I'm in New Hampshire.
Yep.
I started having our people meeting us across the border. We weren't going to Haverhill. Yeah. They were coming to Plastow.
Okay.
If we're going to do time, it's going to be in my county, Rockingham. You know what I mean? It's way different time.
Yep, absolutely. Is that what ended up happening?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I went back to Haverhill, and I got clapped again. And
how long in between you got out till that happened?
Man, maybe
months?
6-7 months. Okay. It wasn't right away enough to make money. Yep. I had an attitude because now I thought I was somebody. In Middleton, I did 90 days. You know what I mean? I must be somebody. Right. Coming back to New Hampshire, I was somebody though. Yeah, nobody even goes to Mass.
What was that like? Yeah, you had all these stories. I know how.
I was trying to gas myself, and I gassed myself right back into Middleton.
Right to a bid,
right back to Middleton again. And that was nothing. That was just something light. I ended up posting bail, and I got more probation time for, and. After that, my dad's like, no more Massachusetts. You're going to be done. You're going to go.
End up completing that
they
probation?
They maxed me when they extradited. I was like the second or third inmate from New Hampshire State Prison to get extradited on parole. So I made parole, got extradited to Middleton.
Okay,
and Middleton and New Hampshire didn't work together.
So you made parole from New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Okay, so what case did you catch in New Hampshire and then...
So, all right, so...
How does that work? They didn't try to violate you or, like you said, extradite you until after your time?
I had to bid out. Yeah, I did my whole bid before they did that. 2 separate cases. Maine did it too.
Shit.
So let me rewind for a minute. I kind of got off track, Bobby. After that, they reinstated my probation. No more Massachusetts. The plugs knew it. Everybody knew it. I wasn't coming.
So just probation, none of these cases are open no more, or you still have any?
No, it's just probation.
Okay. They tied it all in,
They tied it all together, right? Gotcha. Added more time. Yep. And they transferred my probation to New Hampshire, so I didn't have to travel. Because the travel was a bitch. Absolutely. So my New Hampshire probation officer was chill. He didn't make me piss. He didn't make me check in. He did 1 home check. That was it. Nice. So I'm running rampant again. You know what I mean?
They give you the rope to hang yourself sometimes.
Exactly what they did, bro. That's exactly what they did, and it worked too. So I ended up getting hemmed up in New Hampshire and Portsmouth. I was messing with a girl, just being ignorant, let her knew too much. She got hemmed up, and she has children, so she decided to cooperate. And I was the one she cooperated on. So they got me and my dad. Unfortunately, my dad was just driving me at the time because you catch a drug charge in Massachusetts, they take your license, right? So I couldn't drive legally, so my dad had to drive me everywhere. My dad was driving me. They had me in her. She wore a wire.
Oh, jeez.
They picked us up in Portsmouth. The first thing the cop said, because I never shit where I eat, so I thought. And Portsmouth PD looking for me for what, man? I'm not fighting, right? What? Yeah. He's like, yo, you're going to prison. What? Man, I get to the station, they got this file of documents and all this stuff. And Yeah, they had me dead to rights. So I went to Rockingham, my home county.
Okay.
9 months pre-trial fighting the case, just looking for a deal. I'm not going to win in trial, but I'm waiting. And plus, Rockingham County was chilling time, you know?
Yeah.
I thought it was good. So,
So how does it work up there, right? I mean, is it like what's the racial breakdown, right? Is it mostly white guys? I mean, I would take it, and then amongst those white guys, is it like divided by like this part of New Hampshire? Like out here, sometimes like Bill Ricker is like it's like a lot of Spanish and white, but it's more like okay, the Lowell kind of crew over here, white guys, and then like the more Cambridge, Cambridge, Medford, Malden.
It's
how is it, bro? Or is it gangs or what?
It's embarrassing to say. So it's pretty much like this. Most people, there's a lot more white in the county at least, Rockingham County. There's there's E Block, which is a gang block. You're getting fallouts. Yeah. You know what I mean? They checked in from other states.
Gotcha.
You know, if they're there, that's most likely what's up. Oh, everybody's doing county time, so there's no politics like that. There's
pretty chill.
Free for all. You could be a Skinner, walk in the yard. Nobody's gonna move on you. Yeah. Whatever. But when you get up to when you get to the state, it's different. I went to FCI Berlin.
Okay, so quickly too. So like Massachusetts, I think over 2.5, right? You could do up to 2.5 in county. What about New Hampshire? Is it like over a year? I know a lot of states over a year.
Yeah, I think Massachusetts is you can get a 2.5, but then you can get the on and
then
after.
You could technically do I think
like
7.5.
Like
yeah,
that.
You could get 3 2.5s, which 7.5 in county must feel like 15
That's
years.
Craziness, bro.
You know, but so how's it work in New Hampshire? Is it more than a year?
A year and a day you go up the way.
Okay.
A year and a day up the way. Unless you're fighting a murder charge or capital charge to where, you know what I mean, they might. Hopefully, if you're fighting a case like that, they might just put you in like the hole, which would suck. You know what I mean? And they might not let you run the block. I've never heard of anybody being there over a year.
So you're in Rockingham County. Eventually, you take a plea. How much time do you get into?
I thought it was late, man. I thought it was real late. I go to court. They're talking about prison, this and that. Final pretrial offer after 9 months is 1 to 5.
Okay.
Now I got 9 months in.
Right.
My lawyer is a public defender. He's a clown. He's telling me you got 9 months and you're going to MSU. Street clothes, cigarettes, your girl can bring you food, things like that. Man, sign it. Let's go. You know, I got 3 months. Let's go.
Wasn't the case?
It wasn't the case. No, they started it from the day, which at the end is still only a 1 to 5. So all right now.
So you didn't get none of that credit?
I got none of that credit.
And you were waiting trial?
That pre-trial credit, 9 months, word, not 1 day of it.
That's crazy.
Craziness, right? Anyway, whatever, it's a year. I'm like, all right, I can do this. But not knowing, Maine had put out a warrant on me. So as soon as I got to R&D, I'm thinking I'm still going to MSU. I only got a year. Anything 2 or under, you go to MSU.
Is that like minimum security?
Minimum security unit, yep. And, I've never been there, but I heard it's nice.
Right.
So that's what I was thinking. I'm in R&D in the bird cages like you see in the movies. It's like real, it's the old Concord, New Hampshire prison.
Crazy.
Which was, that was different. I didn't see that in Middleton, you know. At least Middleton was new.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. And I thought I was going to R&D and boom, my door pops, going to Berlin. Popped at like 3 a.m. And I thought it was fucked up. And then 2 or 3 other people's popped and we're all going to pack your stuff, roll your stuff. Berlin, New Hampshire, man. I'm like, what?
So is that... Like, how's it work? Is that medium security, maximum security?
Pretty sure Berlin's a max. Okay. I'm not going to say it's
technically, somebody might correct you technically, but...
It's not Shirley, you know what I mean? But for New Hampshire, it's max, you know. Concord, there's a lot of free-for-all, open campus. Berlin, there's a state facility, and then there's our yard, and then there's the feds.
Oh, okay.
So the unique thing about Berlin that I noticed in my time there is the Fed politics, which are completely different than state politics, come to race and stuff, kind of come over because the yards are right there. Kites are getting passed from the Fed
pen.
So
you can talk to the...
And that would come and go. So there would be like 7 or 8 months to where it would be like strictly Fed politics.
Wow.
You don't talk with other races, things like that. Wasn't raised like that. We're from around here. Like, we break bread with everybody, right? So, and then there was people who get shipped out, too many problems, and then it would be back to state politics. And my Berlin bid was rough for me because I had done too much county time, and I had done too much my own county time. 9 months, Rockingham, going to prison. I thought I ran shit.
You know a lot of people there in your own county kind of deal?
In my own county, I knew everybody.
Yeah.
I had the poker table.
Yeah.
I had the stores county. I had everything. We get to prison, I thought I was about to do the same shit. Stupid, man, on a 1 to 5.
Yep.
I didn't realize when they sent me to Berlin because I had an open warrant. I never got MSU. And I hit the poker table right off the bat and didn't get any debts or anything like that, but because the Fed politics, I was doing business the way I shouldn't have been, as people would say. So right off the bat, you know what I mean, discipline, you know, pick your cell, my cell, which cell. I'm like, man, I don't want to fight every day like this. So boom, boom, boom. It's like 4 or 5 days in a row I got.
So what, like other white dudes coming up to you and saying, because what, like you just started your own thing, or was it like
I was
because
carrying myself fucked up. I wasn't going with the program. I was straight from
Was it a
county.
racial thing because you're talking to different races, or was it like, oh,
Yeah.
let me just try to do my own thing, not knowing there's already people doing things and that you got
It was a racial thing at first, which
okay.
I don't agree with.
No
but
doubt.
that, like I said, at times there was the Fed politics.
Yeah.
Like, so I walk up in there, and I'm from a little city too, but I have a lot of different friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was playing. I had a partner that was colored.
Wow.
Solid dude, not a rat, not a.
So they didn't. No one trying to tell you like, oh, you can't be doing that. They just want to fight you right away.
They did try to tell me, and I fucked up.
You weren't okay.
I was like, you're not about to
program.
tell me that, man. This is a solid dude. It'd be one thing if it was a Skinner or a rat, you know, because he's a different color.
Yeah, it's corny.
Like, yeah, thank you. Man. That's what I thought. And they were like, yeah, no, sell. Fuck. So I got, you know, whatever. That kept happening because I kept standing on my business. I wasn't about to, I'm not putting no Swazi on me and shit like that.
Yeah, that's
I'm not on that time, bro. And that's what they were pushing for hard. I was on B Block, and there was a lot of the bow dudes. They had their way of thinking. I agree with a lot of it, and I get in their ways. But
that's an acronym.
Yeah, I don't even know if yeah. They were really putting some pressure on, and I don't agree with it because luckily I would go into the cell. Yeah, you smash me out all you want. I was going in the cell.
At some point, do they get tired of calling you into the cell?
Yeah. I got the better. After I started winning. Yeah. You know, after the 4th day.
Was it one-on-ones at least?
The first 3 days was one-on-ones, 2 back to back. Okay. So 2 one-on-ones back to back. So right off the bat.
At least they ran it like that. Do eventually they try to do like a 2-on-1? Or?
No. I eventually I had to win. Somebody just your boys messed up, you know, and I just had to. Right. That's really when I snapped, and I didn't know I had that nerve. You know what I mean? Because I was always a tough kid, but I knew, like at that point I was really beat up 2 at a time. You know what I mean? 2 a days, 4 days in a row. Sheesh. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I was standing on my principles or whatever. That's what it is sometimes. The last one I was done with it, man. You know what I mean? That was it.
So the 1 to 5, you got this open thing in Maine. Yep. I mean, I take it do you even go in front of a parole board or?
So this 1 to 5 turned into I saw parole. I think it was like 22 months because of these fights. Kept turning down takes, kept getting in fights, and the last one was a good one, so I got in trouble for. And 22 months, 23 months, I went in front of parole board, and they granted me parole. But then I had to sign my waiver to extradition. I'm like, to Maine. Thankfully, I knew Maine had a bail for me. It was a grand larceny charge too. It was a big charge I was spooked about. But I knew at least my dad was there with bail. So as soon as I hit the county, which is York County, Maine, it was just processed, bail, cash.
One step closer too, so you got to deal with it at some point. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
And I ended up beating that case. Shout out to my lawyer, James Loring, out of Portsmouth. It's a beast that he beat that for me. So then I'm back to the streets on parole, and I have these open cases out of Mass. Now, that's not under probation now. It's under my Massachusetts, New Hampshire parole. Me, light work. If you violate New Hampshire parole, it's not like probation. You just get a 90-day setback on a violation, you know what I mean? So
and then you get out?
Right back
automatically. There's no hearing or nothing? It's just
right back on the streets, kicked out, unless you fuck up in there. And I go to the bar and I get into a fight with one of my good friends, shout out Teddy Zadlow. And I got whooped. He's a beast. He's an army
Oh,
guy.
you fought against him?
Yeah. We were drinking at the
that's
American
like-
Legion, and
Got
he's
you.
like, "Oh yeah, I got fresh
That
out of
happens.
prison or whatever. Like, you think you're tough?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, Berlin."
Yeah.
He's just always like, it was a friendly fight, but
Yeah,
he whooped me,
yeah.
you know.
Sure.
Not thinking I had to go into parole Tuesday. This was a Friday, so by the time parole comes Tuesday, I still got shit, man. He's like, looks at me, I'll private. He's like, right away, you're going back to Concord.
Damn.
I've been out maybe a week and a half from Berlin, and I got
fell off the
violated.
bed.
For real, slipped in the shower, man.
So what's that? Another 90?
That was a 90, and then I thought I was just gonna get kicked out. That's when the Massachusetts maxed me. That's when Essex County was like, it ain't gonna go like that. You know what I mean? We still have you on all this, and that's when I realized probation was different than parole.
So, what do they do? They bring you back to Middleton, or you
So
going
I
to
did
court
my
from there?
90. I did my 90 in H building in Concord, New Hampshire prison, and then I had to sign my extradition paperwork, and I'm like looking at it, Middleton, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire never worked together like that. Like, nobody believed me. I'm like, they're going to take me from here to Middleton, man. It was like, that's a hit. It was a hit. And they did. And then Middleton maxed me. They gave me 11 months, which was not bad. I'm not sitting there saying that. But, like, after all that time, I thought probation was day for day like parole.
No, yeah.
So on the streets in New Hampshire, like, if I did today, that's a day off my parole bid. You know what I mean?
Probation.
Yeah, it was different. They gave me 11 months. I'm like, I just did 90 days. My grandmother had died. And this time was a tough 90.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm just trying to go home. I got my dad here. No,
But once you get that, that's it, right? You got nothing else? Do you hit the farm, or what? How was that Middleton
I denied
bid?
the farm. I denied
You
the
denied
farm.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I denied the farm. They put me back on 80 upper. So now me being in the same block that I started my career, full circle, and now I have a lot more experience. A lot
you got
more
a New
scars.
Hampshire state bid.
A lot more scars, a lot more experience, I'm more of a gentleman. And things went really well. That 11 months went by like that, man. I mean, we was going to church, we was getting active every day. Nobody was really, I mean, there's an active yard, but nobody was beefing with each other, working out, just having a good time.
What, in your opinion, do like those white guys in Middleton, were they less racist than the ones that were in New Hampshire?
I haven't seen any racists out of Massachusetts white guys at all. New Hampshire white guys, I think they just get it in their heads, maybe raised like that. I was blessed to where we break bread, man. If you're a solid dude, just stand up, man. That's what it's about.
Like, I know, like the way I said, I know good, bad people and like shit bags of every race, good and bad of both.
That's true, man.
You know?
And but yeah, the guys in New Hampshire take it to the extreme.
A little bit extra.
Extreme.
It's almost like West Coast politics.
Too much, way too much extra with it. And to be honest, I don't know why, because I feel like if they went to the West Coast, they'd probably get crushed.
Right, no doubt.
You know what I mean? That's just keeping it on, dude.
Yep.
It is what it is. But one thing I have seen on both sides is the white guys extorting white guys, man. And if you just because the kid's weak, man.
I went back to like Bill Ricker 2018.
Yep.
And the new phase was the whole fucking pay to stay shit.
Yeah,
like when this dude's no good, bro. Whatever it is, whether he got paperwork or he's a SO, sex offender, or what. I'd rather be broke with a bunch of solid dudes than this shit. I didn't like it. I was very turned off by it, and it just made me think like it was just like, I don't want to be in these places no more. The one thing that you thought you might have had, the solidarity, it's like that's not even there no more.
What's going on? Yeah.
You know, so
I heard stories about Bill Ricker back in the day. I've never been to Bill Ricker, but I heard.
So the old building was cool. It was like, looking back, it was almost like state prison. Like 200 people came. Like there was 200 people all out. I mean, I did so much time with people that like I didn't even like. I know them by face, but we never talked. Because it was so. Everyone had their own kind of thing going on, and there was battles, whites versus the Latin Kings, all sorts of crazy stuff going on, man. Like one of my first times there, someone gave me a knife because there was shit going down with the whites and the Latin Kings. I was like, damn, it's like that.
That's crazy,
like my first day out of New Man into like first week at least, but it was a little crazy. Now it's all different. Everything's separated. Nobody comes out there. 30 people come out together, so you don't even have time to like build a crew kind of deal. But F all that. But so what was the reason behind denying the farm move? Were you already maxing out?
I was comfortable.
Yeah.
I was mad comfortable. So they offered me to move the farm. I only had like 2 weeks left.
Okay,
And I had the poker table and shit. Now, like I said, I had been to prison and stuff, so my view of things were different. When I hit 80 upper, I came from New Hampshire State, so I had my thermal on that had my ID number. Everybody's looking at me like, "Where'd you get that? You got your name on your shit?" Yeah, that's exclusive. So anyway,
the things that make us feel important in jail, bro.
So I was like, I wasn't trying to leave. I was comfortable. And then my farm, I heard there was like, at the time it was summer, it was hot. I had mice going through people's shit at the farm, and I heard people were really getting active in the farm. I'm trying to do that. I'm chilling.
So what's your mind state this time now about you start planning on like, I think this is the time I'm gonna get out, start doing the right thing? I mean, how's your bit? Are you still messing with the subs on the inside?
On the inside, just because unfortunately we were making a lot of money, and I had to do certain things, whatever.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, but yeah, I was using on the inside.
Did you come out addicted to the?
Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, but not a big one. But yeah, I felt like shit for the first 3 days. Okay. You know, I remember my dad.
So you got out and kicked it? You didn't try to get like on a clinic or nothing?
My dad made me. Okay. Which I always have respect. I was a grown man at the time. I could have done whatever I wanted, but I was going back to stay at my dad's, and he was clean. Yeah. So if he got clean while I was doing my bid, what you mean you're coming home with a habit? It wasn't about to go down like that. So.
Yeah, I mean it's tough sometimes too, man. Because I say a lot of times if you can't stay clean on the inside, not that you can't. You have a tough time.
It's very hard. I had the support, thankfully. And I started, smoking a lot of weed and drinking. Yeah. I parked it on the couch for like 3 or 4 days, and before I could even enjoy my freedom. Isn't that fucked?
Right. So was this something that this conversation you had with your dad before you got out? Like you knew you had to come out and kick, or is it like I'm out and then he tells you?
Yeah. So it had happened to where the cash apps would stop. He was the one running my cash app.
Oh, okay.
He knows what time it is. He's done jail time. So I was coming like 6 or 7 days away from my release date, and I asked him to send something, and he's like, "That ain't happening. Like what you have is what you have. It's even. It's here for you when you get out. Okay. You got 14 days." So I started kicking before I got. So my last like 13 days in Middleton, I was on my bunk kicking.
It's like your first 13. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's going through your mind? Like, what the hell happened? We're about to go home, and here I am kicking.
How am I gonna go home? And I have a son at this time. So I'm like, how am I? You can't do that. You know what I mean? At this point, you're right, Ed. I got to do something. Yeah. Anything. I still don't know right now what to do, but I ain't getting high.
So let's talk about that. When, like, how long ago was that? How long have you been out?
I think it was 2022 was when I got out of Middleton.
No more probation, nothing.
Clean slate. Okay. I'm on bail conditions in Maine right now, but that's
whatever story, things happen. I'm not gonna talk about stuff that's open and stuff.
I appreciate that.
Did you start to like develop a plan for your release, or was like, let's figure that out when I get out?
I didn't. For whatever reason, I'm not a plan type of guy.
No doubt.
Every time I have a plan, it seems it messes up. So I just figured that I'm just going to go day by day, one day at a time. Hasn't really worked. I haven't been that successful at it, to be honest. I'm just trying to figure it out. Yeah. But I'm not getting high. I'm not in the streets. It's nice to be able to walk down Mass Ave and like, oh man, I'm not here like that.
I'm glad I'm not, exactly. Prayers for them, but I'm glad that's not me. Better them than me, unfortunately.
So my plan was still loosey-goosey. And here I am. I mean, it brought me here.
So you said you have a son now?
I do have an 8-year-old son.
Okay, so how 8-year-old son. So I mean, you were locked up for a lot of that.
I was locked up for
so what's that
5
like?
Of that
Did
8.
you have any communication and like, what's your self like? How do you feel like as a father at that point? I mean, do you start to feel guilty?
Yeah, I fucked up. I felt like I knew I had messed up because he was born. My son's mother got clean, which was like, that was a big step. And she's like, I'm doing this for the kid. You do it too. Yeah. I was making too much money. I just lied to her, wasn't clean. And then I got indicted. She never came to saw me. She wouldn't answer the phone. She thought it was a betrayal. Because when you get indicted on things like that, I had a opportunity to cooperate, and I could have gone right home. Right. And she knows this, and I didn't. Wow. And she's like, "Really? You're gonna let this?
You're gonna choose the street code over your son?
Yeah. She used that, and I'm like, Yeah, that's what it was. So like I'm going away, and she never forgave me. To this day, she doesn't forgive me for it.
Yeah.
I see him though all the time.
Okay.
I just don't talk to her.
No doubt.
And that's it. But yeah, it made me feel like about this big, man.
Yeah.
Really.
That was one thing I remember always looking around, and I still to this day don't have kids, but like I was a young kid at the time and seeing a lot of those guys, man, and like, you know how dudes are doing stretches, so they're like, I haven't seen my kid in 10 years. You know what I mean? And it's like, God, I can only imagine what's going, you know what I mean, through your mind and your heart and all that stuff.
I had a cellie in Berlin that he had the Bible, like the photo books. He was able to show me, like, you know.
This is when I first came in. Flip.
The kid's graduating now, and I'm like, man, you've been here for like older than me.
And then some, it's tough, man. I don't know.
It's crazy. It's hard to think about that, and how these people ended up on maybe silly choices. Yeah. I'm very thankful. Things could have gone a lot different,
Sure.
I might not be here. I survived the epidemic clean. I got a level head on my shoulders. I got a great woman. Shout out her.
So
she's
that
done
always
everything from, man. If not, who knows? For real.
Absolutely.
She's really helped me a lot. She's doing good. Success, I like to say, like, especially coming in here, it's like a film in the air, like success. You can feel it. Yeah. Seeing all these cameras, I'm like, whoa. Cool, you know what I mean? Like, this has been a fun day, and being able to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not stressing about money, nothing.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out too, because this was like a last minute kind of opening. I know we had talked before, but a lot of times, I'm gonna be real with you, a lot of times I have almost like a month booked. You know what I mean? So to get in as quick, I don't think you beat the record. There was one kid who I think I put it that day. He went he actually hit me up that day. I was like, actually, I have a cancellation. And he went from hitting me up that day to getting in the studio the same day, all in one day. So you never know. Reach out.
I took a second. Reach out. Shout out to B. Luke, man, the Bounce Back podcast. This is awesome.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming and everything, too. So throughout all that time, what are some things that like you learned about yourself, right? A lot of time to self-reflect. A lot of ups and downs, growing pains, learning the system. What are some things that you learned about yourself going through all that?
That's a good question. What I've learned about myself is I'm still learning a lot about myself because I spent so much time under the influence. I maybe don't know who I really am.
Right.
I know who I aspire to be. I know who I was. And I know what I can be.
Yep.
I'm not sure how to put all that together quite yet.
Yep.
But when it comes together, I feel like it's going to be very good.
Absolutely.
That's a good feeling. I learned patience. I learned respect.
Yeah.
Prison taught me a lot about respect that the streets didn't. Gentlemen, you have to carry yourself like that. I learned that that sun's gonna shine again. It might be raining today. It might have rained yesterday. It might rain all week. Gonna have a day like today. That sun's been shining all day, and here I am. I've been happy all day. From state lines, everything's good. So if you keep looking up, this too shall pass.
That's for sure.
And it will pass. And it's going to be all right, man.
That's for sure.
I think.
So you did, you got to do what you got to do in there. We all got a little hustle or something, or you should if you're doing time. I mean, it's too much to put like on family. But what kind of like programming was available? School, like what ended up happening? Did you end up getting your high school diploma, GED, and jail, or like what kind of programs or schooling were you able to do? Or?
They offered that. Everywhere I've been has had decent programs that I regrettingly didn't do. I was still stuck up and like staying on the block.
Yeah. Doing that convict time.
Yeah, convict time.
We don't do programs.
Completely not preparing myself. To this day, I still don't have my GED. Which is crazy.
Is that a goal for you?
It should be. I can't say I put it right front and forth, but it should be. It needs to be.
Yeah.
Just so much. I need little things like that make you feel better.
For sure.
They offered it everywhere. I just chose negligently not to do any of it.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Man, it is what it is.
Everything convict time. You said it perfect.
I had a
good time playing cards and doing whatever.
What is it? I'm not making good time. I'm here for a good time. That's
exactly.
The stupid sayings that go through all that. But that's what's up, though. What about like this fatherhood journey? I'm always interested. Like, what are you looking forward to as far as like getting to be a dad for your son and moving forward and like watching him grow up?
I think that's a great question. Because like me, you heard from earlier in the story, I idolized my dad. And I want him to idolize, I want my son to idolize me like that. I just want to be a different role model, you know. I want him to look at me like I look at my dad to this day, like, that's a bad dude right there. Like, ain't nobody better than him. But I want to be the one to be like, you know, success. My dad was just kind of, he was going with the flow. I don't blame it on him. So my hope, he's 8, he's getting big, sports. I want to coach sports. I'd love to be a baseball coach. I want to take a car show, things like that. You know, all the things, Dad's cool stuff, man, you know. We've taken him to movies, arcades. But that stuff gets old after a while. Video games gets old after a while. I want to be the father that shows him the world. Because a lot of kids nowadays are stuck on the phone.
That's for sure.
Like, there's some cool stuff out here, man.
Yeah, get them out the house.
Get them.
What about the, as far as like, the racing, is that something you have any desire to do yourself or want to get him into do? And do you watch NASCAR and all that?
Yeah, I would love to. I have a weird thing because I always kind of felt like it was forced on me. I love it together, I'm not saying, but it was like, this is what we do as a family. We race. So I don't want to do that. I want to see what he does. But then he goes, starts playing golf, and I'm like, I don't even know how to play golf, dog. You know, I'm trying to race the golf cart. Like, 1, 2, 3, go. So I'm just going to let him see what he does. And if I have to learn, I had to learn how to play Fortnite. You know what I mean? Literally, you could ask a guy. Because I sat down with him and he's like, good, doing this. And I'm like,
hey, got to take interest in their interests. You know?
Exactly. Thank you. So, yeah, I've been sat down. I'm pretty good at it now.
There you go. Shout
out that. But things like this are all just new to me and surreal because there was times I didn't think I was I didn't foresee myself changing. I got comfortable. I'm sure you've heard that before. Same reason why I turned down the farm. Almost afraid to go back to society, if that makes any sense to the viewers at all. Not that. I mean, I was just comfortable.
Responsibility. Get out and they talk about responsibility and all the stuff you gotta do. And,
like craziness. Like, I was just chilling. You know what I mean?
It's like, plus when you're in prison, you're in jail. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're already pretty much in the worst place.
Exactly.
You're gonna lock me up? Oh, I'm already locked up.
Me?
It can't get any worse. So once you kind of accept that, it kind of makes it you can get comfortable. You know?
Yeah, and that was a mistake. So I didn't foresee myself surviving. I almost took pride in thinking I was going to be like a lifer.
Crazy.
And yeah, that's ignorance. It's very
doing single digit, right?
Doing single digits, like trying to earn wannabe stripes, like with a son on the streets. Just that little bit of attention. Now looking back on it, I think like, man, I should have taken better care of my mental health a long time ago. But the drugs, I didn't know. I just thought it was.
So, what about when your son gets to that age, or I don't know, maybe you have already, but like if talk about jail and prison, and is that a conversation that you can have, or what do you think you'll say about it? I mean, obviously you're not gonna glorify it or anything like that.
I try not to. I gotta try not to. He hasn't asked. He hasn't asked, so that's good.
Yeah.
Man, to be honest,
I don't know. I know he's still young right now to not even get it, so you got plenty of time.
But like when he starts,
but kids are funny sometimes. They find things out. Next thing you know, it's like, well, my daddy's in jail. Or, you know what I mean? It's like they don't even find out from the mom. Like they come home and tell mom, like, why you lied to me? Say with your friend at school was like, my mama told me your daddy's in jail. You know, so kids find out things anyway. But
when he asked me that, I think my best bet is to just like try to scare him out of it. I don't think it'll work though because he's got my heart and be like, you ain't punking me off. Let's try it out. So I don't know.
What are some things that you would say to like at-risk youth, or maybe like kids in a juvenile detention facility? Like what's waiting for them? What kind of life is waiting for them if they want to continue going down that path?
Man, listen, if you're in that path right now, whatever clout you're getting, whatever attention you're getting, whatever money you're getting, you need to forget about it just like that. Done. Because let me tell you what's going to happen is they're going to forget about you just like that. Done.
That's for sure.
That money ain't going to be there on the inside. That clout damn sure ain't going to be there on the inside. The people you love, they're going to keep pushing. The world keeps going. You're stuck in that box, man. It stops. do you want it to stop? I have to look at myself. I didn't come this far to only come this far.
Exactly.
You guys are in trouble, maybe going through some things. Take it on the chin. That's a life lesson. I agree with life experiences. I think it's a very good thing. But you need to be able to take those life experiences and produce good energy out of them. You keep putting bad energy into the world, it's not going to come back to you how you want it, and I can attest to that. Stay up, keep your head up. It's all right.
Yeah.
Be happy, man.
Yeah, especially these days, man. I mean, kids are becoming millionaires by streaming video games.
For real, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you got a kid on the streets, I don't know. I think something's wrong there, right? Because there's so many more outlets nowadays.
It's not
you know
the
what I mean?
90s anymore, man. Like, yeah, man.
Even though we might have felt, okay, this is our only, even though there were opportunities, but now it's so vast. And it's like, even though opportunities that were there, if you didn't have like family members that knew about them, like the little, this pro, you know what I mean? People weren't trying to, you know, people hoard resources, you know what I mean? So now you can just look anything up.
That's facts.
So there's no excuses, man. There's no excuses for that, to have, you know, kids out there in the streets, unless, you know, you're just not there. Then that's, you know, your fault. But
right.
That's the only thing I can see. If there's, you know, both parents around, it's kind of silly to have a kid out in the streets. But
looking for clout or
whatever it is.
False.
Trying to prove yourself to people who are not going to care. Half of them probably won't even be around anyway. But what about somebody that's struggling with addiction? What kind of advice would you give to that person?
There's a lot of help. I never reached out for help, but you should. Especially nowadays, there's a lot of help. People help. I hope you stay strong, be safe, be smart. You can beat it. I've beat it. My girls beat it. I have a whole family that's beat it. A whole generation of friends that didn't beat it. Please don't be one of those. I ain't going to any more funerals. I've had to tell my friends that. It's not something that you ever want to have to say. So this too shall pass, and stay strong.
Absolutely. What's the main message you like for someone to get from your story?
I'm thinking now that I always tried so hard to be a tough guy, or like the big guy that maybe people wouldn't bully. I was never myself doing that, you know, so I was always playing or putting on a persona. You know what really works is just to be yourself. And that's the craziness about it. Don't get wrapped up, man. I hope you can take something from my story. I know I've been rambling this last night. I'm not prepared,
good,
but if you guys can take something, I'm just trying to be myself. I've had a great day. And it's a unique story. There's nothing badass, but it's I survived. You know, that's what's badass. So if you guys can do that too, I think it's great. We should all stick together and really do something with our lives.
Absolutely. Why did you want to come up and tell your story, man? Why was that important for you, bro?
Very important for me. Very blessed, by the way. Bobby, I've been watching your podcast for, you say 2 years. It's been doing this for 2 years. I just started watching it, I think maybe like 8 months ago. But I swear to God, I think I've watched every episode.
Wow, thank
you can
you
ask
so
her.
much.
I mean, shout out to Maddie. I'm almost done with his too.
Hell yeah, W Number Podcast.
Yeah, W Number Podcast, Maddie Tottenham. You guys, I never felt I could go to therapy. You know, I'm not an AA guy. I'm not an NA guy. And where I'm from in New Hampshire, there's not a lot of stand-up guys like us. I'm not going to talk to a goofy, you know what I mean, that can't relate. I only talk about one of your podcasts, and like, yo, like you said some names, I knew him. Like, I know him. I'm like that meme, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme. Dude, all night, cigarette hanging out of my mouth. You guys post pictures. They're like, look. Hey, no, you can. She can contest to it.
That means a lot, bro.
So this, to me, watching this at home on my phone wherever I go, is literally therapy.
Yeah. Wow.
Watching you be able to talk to your people, just like you just talked to me. I don't even feel like it took me like 10 minutes.
Right.
I don't even realize I got lights around me. I'm just kicking it off,
That's
you know.
what's up, man.
And you and Maddie have a real way of. I recognized it resonated with me, you know. Happiness, you guys have smiles on your face. The success, Bounce Back Podcast. I love that name. You know, it's all about that bounce back.
Absolutely.
That's my playlist. Boom, right there. And then if you go down to the music, it's just it's Millie's, more breezy.
How did you come across the bounce back? I'm always curious to how.
Oh man, how did that happen?
Just suggested on YouTube,
no. I think it came through Facebook. Like I said, Cambridge. I've been down to Massachusetts somewhere, but I never really come to Boston like that. But when Millie's dropped on 94.5, I was at Rockingham. I went crazy. It was the Jadakiss song "Back to the Money."
A lot of people don't know that was a song with Jadakiss from back in the day. He had so many songs with him, but go ahead.
Yeah,
you heard that?
Yeah, I heard that. I was in jail when I lived like antenna like this, dude, and like just amped up, and I was like, man, that's somebody that's other than like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
you know, like he's giving us a platform.
Yep. By
the time I wrapped up, I come home and he's got Blanco albums like this, and they're all hard. Like, man, so I just been on that, and I'm like, I think my algorithm, because of that,
because of the Millies,
man, I think that's what it's been. It's like the Bounce Back podcast, and
that's cool.
And I was not a podcast guy at all.
Yeah,
if I was working, I was listening to music.
Yeah,
if I was at home, I'm pacing, listening to music, doing push-ups or whatever. Nowadays, I'm at home, I pull up the chair. Boop. It's either UW number. It's UW number. I do Chad. I don't want to throw another.
No, shout out to Chad. Blood on the razor wire. Yeah. Chad's the OG.
Like just a lot of prison. Yeah, Chad stuff. 23-1. Josh. That's my playlist. Boom, right there. And then if you go down to the music, it's just it's Millie's, more breezy.
So
you know,
shout out to more breezy too, bro.
Yeah.
He's good,
so I just try to support. I'm a New Hampshire boy, but I spent more time here, man, than Lames.
And then you did time a little bit of time.
A little bit of time, and I've been more embraced down here than I am up there.
So what do you got what are you looking forward to as far as the future with your freedom? You got any short-term, long-term goals? Anything you're working on or desire to do? Travel. Yeah. I know you had mentioned you want to take your son to see the world, but I'm sure you want to see the world too.
I want to see the world too. Yeah, I've only done the East Coast from Florida and back. Man, I think this is looking pretty cool, man. Nobody's really doing it up my way. I ain't doing it down here. I ain't stepping on nobody's toes. But
that's all good.
To be honest,
I always say, because just like how you watch me and Matt, like there's plenty of, you know, people.
I saw you guys,
because once they watch one, it's not like, okay, I'm done watching YouTube for the day. Let me turn it off. We're gonna watch the next thing. I don't. It's all gravy, bro. But
when I saw you two sitting here together, that's when I clicked to me. I was there to say, like, this is craziness. Absolutely. So I did reach out just recently, to a spot in Maine. Similar to this. I'm just looking to I want to see, because
you have any questions, any way I can add value, definitely let me know, bro.
I'll hit you up, bro. I might need some advice, to be honest. But I'm nervous. If that means just straight up, I'm like light tone it. I'm walking on eggshells. I don't know. I'm gun shy.
Well, the way I say too is if you don't plan on going back, you got plenty of time. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it.
Fair enough. I like that.
That's how I look at it, bro. So I don't know if there was anything that you wanted to touch on we didn't get a chance to, or some last words, bro.
If we're wrapping it up, I just want to give a couple shout outs, if that's all right. Shout out Portsmouth, all of Portsmouth. Teddy Zadlow, A-Team Carpentry. He's been a huge mentor for me, helped me stay sober, giving me work, always. Shout out to the Naples boys from the Ground Up LLC. Shout out my boy D. And that's shout out the W Number podcast and the one and only Bounce Back, man. This is awesome. This is a hell of an experience.
Absolutely appreciate you coming through. You heard it from the man himself, man. The Bounce Back podcast. It is what it is. Remember, what's next is what you make it. And on that note, we're out of here. Peace. Thanks again, bro.
Peace. Thank you, bro.
Bounce back, ain't got a moment when they see you down this